Good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending this news conference. My name is Gary Hilliard. I'm a state representative, lifelong Maine resident from Belgrade, and I'm an avid hunter. I really enjoy spending time in the Maine outdoors, and I'm a private businessman in Maine, having been in the beverage, recycling, and restaurant business for the last 35 years. I'd like to introduce a few additional people who will also be co-sponsoring this effort. The first person is Representative Peter Lyford from Eddington. Not only is Peter a representative in the Maine House, he's also a business owner and outdoorsman. He serves on the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee, and he's a great advocate for conservation and Maine sportsmen. Second person I'd like to introduce is V. Paul Reynolds, certainly no stranger to sportsmen in Maine. Paul is the editor of the Northwood Sporting Journal, the host of the Maine Outdoors radio show, and author of several books having to do with the Maine outdoors. He's also former publicity director for the Department of Maine Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. The next co-chair is Clay Tranton from Kingfield. Clay is a business owner. He owns several grocery stores and convenience stores, a laundromat, and other things. He's a Maine guide, and he's a director of the Maine Sporting Dog Association. Well, those are the co-chairs. I'm happy to have them here. Other folks here today who will be speaking to you: Dave Trahan, former senator, executive director of the Sportsman Alliance of Maine; Dana Connors, president of the Maine Chamber of Commerce; and James Cody from J.M. Cody. As most of you are aware, hunting and hunting season is important here in Maine. With each hunting season, gas stations, restaurants, hardware stores, sporting goods stores, convenience stores, and others see a steady stream of camo-clad patrons walking up to the cash registers. The revenue and jobs these folks produce are the livelihood for many individuals, businesses, and communities across Maine. The reason we are here today is to highlight and draw attention to the positive impact hunting has on the Maine economy. To do this, we are announcing a newly formed statewide partnership called Hunting Works for Maine. And if you can see the logo, very appropriate. Hunting Works for Maine is a partnership of organizations representing traditional and non-traditional economic supporters of our hunting heritage. Included in this partnership are non-traditional members such as retail associations, hospitality associations, and chambers of commerce. Also, traditional hunting retailers and sporting goods stores, tourism and economic development organizations, local sporting personalities, hunting and fishing organizations, conservation organizations, and individual businesses such as restaurants, hotels, motels and resorts, gas stations and convenience stores, and guides and outfitters. Due to the fact that many Maine citizens don't entirely understand the role hunting plays in the Maine economy and in wildlife management, our mission with Hunting Works for Maine is to highlight, promote the economic partnership between the hunting community and the local economy of Maine. Today we're going to hear some compelling stories from just a few of our partners and leaders about how hunting affects their lives and affects the livelihoods of many Mainers. First of all, I'd like to introduce Representative Lyford to say a few words.
It's great to be here today to be part of the launching of the Hunting Works for Maine. I'm excited to see this group getting organized here in Maine because of the economic story of hunting. I don't think hunting is realized enough by both hunters and non-hunters alike. Let me give you some specifics on Maine that I think you'll find being surprised to learn. The numbers come from the National Survey of Hunting, Fishing, and Wildlife Association Recreation. You know, hunters in Maine spend $213 million a year. Hunting sports create something over 3,600 jobs here in Maine and provide $120 million in salaries and wages. Maine hunters contribute about $28 million in local taxes and $28 million in federal taxes. All these dollars translate into an overall economic impact of like $360 million. The economic impact throughout the state is important, as I know in my area of Eddington and Clifton, Holden area. One of the state dollars for the hunters, both state and federal level, created through the Pittman-Rodman, it's a special tax on hunting equipment that is redistributed through the states for conservation and hunting ones that help keep Maine beautiful.
Thank you, Representative Lightfoot. Those are certainly outstanding numbers. At this time, I'd like to ask Paul Reynolds to come forward and say a few words.
Thank you, Gary, and good morning. Being a septuagenarian cynic, I don't usually get excited about joining organizations, but I am excited about this organization. I'll tell you why. Being a hunter, a journalist, over the years I have noticed that for some reason the story of hunting in the state of Maine, of all places, does not seem to get told as often and as deeply as I think it should be told. So I think hunting in America is a long overdue movement in the state, and I'm happy to be a part of it. Representative Lightfoot touched on a couple of things. I'd just like to share a few statistics with you for just a second. Maine hunters each year spend $65 million on food and lodging, $33 million on transportation costs, $100 million on other related costs, and on hunting equipment alone in the state of Maine, these are stores in your neighborhood, they spend $60 million on guns, ammunition, boats, and things like of that sort. The point I think that needs to be made, and I think the point that is not understood well enough in Maine by a lot of Maine folks, is that the money that is spent, it goes toward wildlife conservation. A lot of people don't realize that. If you buy a gun or you buy ammunition, there's a federal tax, and that tax is funneled back into the state of Maine, and the money is used for all types of conservation efforts, including the management of wildlife. And that's a story that I think the Department of Fish and Wildlife tried to get out during the bear referendum, and they did a pretty good job. But it's a story that we as hunters need to continue to convey, and I think as journalists, I would hope that you help us tell that story. Hunting does have a tremendous economic impact, and it affects the local grocery stores, the local gas stations. It's a ripple effect that adds up. I can't prove this to you, but I read that it's over $200 million, which is a lot of money in the state of Maine each year. Finally, what I'd like to do, I'd like to stray a little bit from the economics and tell you a short personal story. I've been a hunter for 50 plus years in the state of Maine. I hunt birds, I hunt deer, I've hunted bear, I've hunted moose. I'm a passionate hunter. And I get disappointed when I see some of the shallow, superficial portrayals of hunting on some of our outdoor television programs. There's more to that story than a trophy buck or a trophy bear. Hunting is a personal story, and I think outdoor writers tell a story, but I think the conventional mainstream media could do a better job telling the story of what hunting is about. Hunting is about enduring friendships. It's about camaraderie at deer camp. It's about time in the outdoors. And it's a wonderful experience that has added a lot of depth to my life. And without hunting, I would have missed a lot. And I think there's some good stories there, and I hope as journalists you dig into that. For example, last year my granddaughter expressed an interest in hunting. I took her deer hunting. We spent the day in the woods. Never saw a deer, but we did a lot of sitting around, enjoying the woods, talking, and if you will, bonding. And I think that's the other side of hunting that you don't see. So thank you for being here. I hope you do tell the economic story, because I think it's a very important one in the state of Maine. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I think Paul added a lot to the economic numbers that we see here in Maine. Also talked a lot about how hunters feel about the sport. I'd like Dave Trahan, the president of the Sportsman Alliance, executive director of the Sportsman Alliance of Maine, to step forward and tell you a little bit about conservation.
It's always difficult to follow Paul Reynolds. He's a personal hero of mine. I grew up reading his material, and when he speaks with authority, and I truly appreciate his approach to this issue. My name is David Trahan. I'm the Executive Director of the Sportsman's Alliance of Maine. Our organization is happy to support Hunting Works for Maine. Some people ask about the role of hunting in wildlife management. The answer is we are everything. Many people don't understand that the sale of hunting licenses and the fees that they generate are the primary source of funding for our wildlife and conservation efforts. By purchasing all the required licenses and paying federal excise taxes on hunting equipment and ammunition, Maine hunters make a big contribution toward ensuring the future of wildlife and the habitat that they so desperately need. Through Pittman-Robertson dollars, the federal excise tax on hunting equipment, hunters are contributing hundreds of millions of dollars for conservation programs that benefit wildlife species, including our endangered species. For instance, each year, $200 million in hunters' federal excise taxes are distributed to the state agencies to support wildlife management programs that guarantee hunting access. Proceeds from the federal duck stamp, a required purchase for migratory waterfowl hunters, have purchased more than 5 million acres of critical habitat. Some of those individuals and organizations that are trying to erode hunter rights in the name of special interests seem to ignore that it's hunters' dollars and sportsmen and women that are investing in conservation of land and wildlife. In addition, a recent study by the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development revealed hunting contributes well over $300 million to the Maine economy, $400 million to the Maine economy, and creates well over 3,000, almost 4,000 jobs. We are glad to add our voice to this important public education initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I'd like to ask Clay Trant to step forward and talk a little bit about how hunting affects the local economy.
Thank you, Representative Mr. Hilliard. I'm Clay Tranton, and I live in Kingfield, Maine. We own 2 grocery stores and a gas station and stuff, and we have a population of about 1,200 people. In this hunting, we have, like, just in our small town, 4 groups that come in, guides that have people come in, and on average, their guys spend, we figured it out, about $1,200 per person for that week. And on it, in a small economy like ours, that's 22 times 1,200. You figure out those numbers, and it's a big increase to our business every year. We need to, anything that brings business to the state of Maine is a good thing, and for us, hunting is a large chunk of that. And the guys are all great. We have the restaurants. It even dwindles down to the golf courses and stuff for us. Guys taking time out, going golfing, out to eat, whatever it be, they're spending dollars in the state of Maine, and it's just good for the state of Maine. Thank you.
Thank you, Clay. I'd like to ask somebody to come forward that's certainly no stranger to anybody here in the state of Maine. Dana Connors, president of the Maine Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to offer some very brief comments, probably best described as a footnote to the very important message that you have heard from the speakers preceding me. As a Mainer and as one who has grown up in Aroostook County, we've always seen hunting as part of our culture, part of our way of life. But today, the story that you're hearing is tremendously significant as it relates to our economic well-being, to our livelihoods, if you will. Perhaps Paul Harvey was right when he characterized today's efforts as being telling the rest of the story, because clearly it's a story that is worth telling, that's important to our economy as well as to our people. And you don't think of it as often as we should. And again, I take responsibility in part because having grown up with the impact it has in our state, you saw it one way, today we bring it full circle. Whether it's generating income, whether it's adding jobs, whether it's goods, services, it has a significant impact. The numbers bear it up. I'm here to say that we are pleased and proud to be a part of this partnership of Hunting Works for Maine, and to help get the message out, a message that people in Maine want to hear because they take great pride in what hunting means to the people of our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. On behalf of Hunting Works for Maine, I'd like to again thank everybody for coming today. In the coming weeks and months, we hope to make Hunting Works for Maine a prominent voice advocating sportsmen's issues and looking at our heritage. In the near future, we'll be meeting with partners and the media, spreading the word about how important hunting is to the Maine economy. We encourage all interested people to check out our website, www.huntingworksformaine.com, and that's Maine, M-E. At this time, if there's any questions, we'd be happy to try to answer them. Thank you.